You're listening to the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network, part of Sports Illustrated, giving you daily NFL Draft, Dynasty, and Devy Fantasy Football podcasts.
Class is in session. Welcome into the draft seminar presented by Sports Illustrated's NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network. I am your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, joined as always by John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. And this is a session that I have been waiting for. We're talking about Trey Lance.
Hey, Matt, I'm looking forward also. My friends, Tony Romo, Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, all came out of the FCS level and all have flourished in the NFL. There is talent at that level, and Trey Lance is the next star coming out from North Dakota State. In high school, he was a 3-year starter at quarterback and strong safety. He was the team captain, but he was only a 3-star recruit. The Minnesota Golden Gophers wanted Lance to play safety, and he was adamant about playing quarterback. So he chose North Dakota State to call signals. And his last year in high school, he was named to the 2017 Minnesota Vikings All-State team. Now, he took a redshirt season his first year on campus. But in 2019, Matt, we've talked about him in the Devy seminar. He really jumped on the radar of NFL scouts, Devy fans, draft scout analysts, fantasy footballers. He was the FCS Walter Payton Award, Jerry Rice Award winners, the ADA Offensive Player of the Year, and first-team All-American. He was unbelievable at the FCS level. He steered North Dakota to an undefeated season at 16-0. And he won the national championship as a redshirt freshman. And I was lucky enough to see the last 2 games in the playoffs of the Bison. When the dust settled, Matt, he had completed 67% of his passes for 2,786 yards. And amazing. We've talked about it in the past. 28-0. That's right. The goose egg. Touchdown to interception ratio. He had over 1,100 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns on the ground. Now, we know that the FCS level did not play in the fall because of COVID. And North Dakota State basically set up an exhibition game, but it was technically a game against Central Arkansas. In that game, the whole nation was watching Trey Lance. He did not play his best football that day. He did total 4 touchdowns. He rushed for 143 yards and passed for 149. But you cannot judge Trey Lance on that one afternoon against Central Arkansas. You have to look at the totality of the resume. He opted out, and now he's entering the draft, my friend. He has produced a 17-0 record because he did beat Central Arkansas. And if you didn't notice, North Dakota State without Trey Lance got smacked the other day. Their long win streak came to an end. So, Matt, we both like Trey Lance. I know you're more excited about him than I am. What's the film say in your end?
Yeah, so projecting him out for fantasy football success, John, this is the type of guy we want to bet on for fantasy football, right? It starts with the arm strength. He gets a 91 for me out of 100 on arm strength. It's easy for him to push that ball 45 yards downfield. He hits over 50 with ease. But he also has really good zip in the short field. So it's not just about the deep ball. He's got nice zip on the ball, short field, midfield. And then it comes down to his athleticism, John. That mobility, that athleticism, it's going to give him a huge upside in the NFL. But he's not he's not a scrambler per se. So he's really elusive in space. He's an agile. He's a fluid runner. You could tell he is an athlete. You know, he's a good quarterback, but he's an athlete. He's got great field vision, and he's powerful. He is willing to go up the middle. That QB draw, he's willing to smash the linebacker. You know, he's going to have goal line fantasy football touchdowns. Yeah, mental processing. I give him an 81. If you look at him on the field, he rarely puts the ball in a comparable situation. So it's not just the stats. He protects the ball well. He understands when to keep the ball, when to go on the run. And I think he works well into his second and third reads. One of the other things about North Dakota that they ask their players, their quarterbacks specifically, to do that a lot of Power 5 programs don't ask you to do is he's at the line, John. He's calling checks. He's calling audibles at the line of scrimmage. He's in charge of that offense in the way in the Power 5 they often don't ask you as a quarterback to do that. And he also has good accuracy. Now, his accuracy is a little inconsistent, but at times he places the ball in the perfect situation for his receivers to get it. I think he has good placement along the boundary. He loses a little bit moving downfield, but he doesn't lose a ton moving downfield. For me, John, he has a league winner projection for fantasy football. But what do you say? Why don't we flip on the tape here?
Oh, I can't wait, brother.
All right. And as always, our tape is provided by Brandon Lejeune, Devy Deep Dive. And right off the bat, I mean, look at the zip on the ball. He absolutely fires rockets in there. He has the mobility there, and he keeps his body closed while throwing on the run. That helps increase his accuracy.
And there's his pocket presence. He moved up, threw a really nice pass there. Yes, I mean, he is a pocket passer also, and he plays out of the shotgun and pro style.
Absolutely. And you could see him, John. He's working through multiple reads. This isn't an offense that's just, a layup for him. And look at his ability to throw on the run there and keep that ball with pinpoint accuracy. I love it. And you could see the athleticism has to jump off the page here.
Yes, and he took that ball from behind center, rolled out. Look at that strike. That
on
is
a rope.
Nice.
On a rope.
Yes.
And here we go. You could see the arm here. That's a 50-yard bomb. That's pretty easy for him there. He steps up in the pocket well. He's got a nice arm, but he doesn't rely just on the arm. The mechanics fit that. Absolutely, man. I absolutely love it. Again, look at that. There's a little air under that ball, but that is a perfectly placed 55-yard bomb. That deep field accuracy, it's not a common thing to find in a college quarterback, even ones with big arms.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at that. He rolled out, threw back a little bit. Oh, the arm strength and the placement is excellent on some of these deep throws. And here we go. His physicality, his vision as a runner.
He runs over that linebacker for that touchdown. He is physical. He is willing. You see a little bit of Josh Allen in his game, but look at that acceleration.
Yes.
That's Kyler Murray acceleration mixed with Josh Allen power. How could you not get excited about that?
No, he definitely has some unbelievable power as a runner. Oh, look at him with the shoulder. But I would recommend against that in the NFL on a regular basis. But he does, have the chutzpah.
On a regular basis, you're right. But in the red zone, John, those are rushing touchdowns. But tell me how his production metrics translate for you and what you're looking for NFL draft prospects.
First thing we have to remember when we are looking at his numbers, they are at the FCS level. So it's not a perfect apples to apples comparison because you did notice in some of those clips, even though the arm strength is there, he's thrown into wide open windows. So that's not always going to happen at the NFL, but the arm strength and the accuracy is there regardless of the wide open, the scheme that got the receiver open. But when you put him up to my 5 benchmarks, Matt, he hits 4 of them. Passing efficiency, 173.8. We saw him throwing the ball deep down the field, 9.3 yards per attempt. 30-1. He finally threw an interception against Central Arkansas. I remember watching on Twitter, people were shocked. Trey Lance threw an interception. Ends up his career with 30-1. Completion percentage, 65.4. Matt, that's kind of what you were talking about. That completion percentage against FCS level competition isn't unbelievable. I mean, we've seen what Joe Burrow did last year, what Mac Jones did this year against SEC competition, but it's still good enough to hit my benchmark. My biggest concern, and I've said this, Matt, and you and I have discussed it, I have 17 games played at the FCS level. That is going to be an incredible jump to the NFL. I believe that Carson Palmer and Patrick Mahomes benefited from a redshirt NFL season. Remember, Carson Palmer played at USC, Heisman Trophy winner. He sat for a season behind John Kitna. Patrick Mahomes, pick number 10 in the draft, sat a year behind Alex Smith. I'm really convinced that Trey Lance needs that opportunity to learn the NFL game, to sit on the sidelines, hear the play calling, see the speed of the game, and learn. But, Matt, the ceiling is there. But I'm so afraid that he's going to be thrown to the lions too early. That is my main concern. And, Matt, last night, I love to do this in March because baseball hasn't started. The NCAA tournament is not on. I was watching more tape of Trey Lance, and I finally got my comparisons. And anyone who knows me, I don't make comparisons often. But last night, I saw Randall Cunningham and Cam Newton when I was watching Trey Lance. The flick of the wrist. If you saw Randall Cunningham when he was early in his career with Philadelphia, oh my God, his ability just fling the ball 50 to 60 yards down the field. We had never seen anything like that back in late 80s. Trey Lance we saw it on the tape. They're just drilling it 50 yards without anything. And then we looked at his scrambling. He's 6'3", 221 pounds with designed runs up the middle of the field. If you watch Cam Newton at Auburn and you've seen Cam Newton in the NFL, he has those design runs and he has the physicality of Newton. Now, it's taken their toll on Cam over the years in the NFL. But let's not forget, Cam Newton was a league MVP and took the Panthers to the Super Bowl. So 6'3", 221 pound. And you said what I thought was the most important thing, Matt. He has a very high football IQ. He is played out of the, behind center, calling plays, and out of the shotgun. So you have a young man with a nice background in scheme and play calling. I like Trey Lance a ton, my man. But it's just a loaded class of quarterbacks.
Absolutely. We'll put those pencils down. That does it for this session here. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe. If you are listening to your favorite podcast provider, give the video a thumbs up. If you are watching the YouTube version, as always, we appreciate you listening.